Hi, I'm Summer McStravick, and welcome to Money Intuition. We're going to explore the minds and the thinking of some really successful women who've used both their intuition and their know-how to create sustainable, financially abundant, self-created lives. So I'm excited today. I have an inspirational teacher. She's a speaker. She's also a medium. She teaches about metaphysics. And today I'm going to ask her about some of her latest work, which is power words. These are precise words that you should use or not use to create financial abundance and a really successful future. So I want to welcome Sharon and Klingler. Hey, Sharon.
Thank you so much, Summer. It's so good to be here.
That's good. It's good to see you again, too, after many, many years. I'm glad to have you back.
It's delightful. It's delightful. And thank you for having me. It's so important. You know, power words, it's the words that we use are something that I've made a really important part of my life for a really long time. But I'm able to now put it out into a book for people called Power Words. And one of the things that helped me in my success is to actually, when you introduced it's words that we shouldn't use as well.
Yeah.
And the first thing I did was cut out the word need.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
The word need, if you were to look that up in a modern dictionary, it would say lack, want, deficiency, a whole bunch of really negative stuff. And indeed, even the Old French and Old English root word for need actually meant starvation and to collapse with exhaustion. So I don't want to put that energy into my universe. So I don't want to tell the universe I need money, because that's literally synonymous to saying I lack money.
I need money. I need more time in my life. I need a better job. I need more money to support my kids, right? All the things.
And that's all an affirmation of I lack, I lack, I lack, I lack. So instead of using the word need, I use the word receive. And so that's literally telling the universe, I receive time, I receive money, I receive love. And it actually makes it a very real thing for you then. And it's a very, need seems like a totally innocuous word, but it's full of negative energy. And so it's just something that I didn't want to put in my life. And just making that little turn of focus or turn of perspective was very helpful to me, because when you want to create abundance, you have to experience abundance and instead of lack. And so when you say I receive and you command abundance now, even instead of creating an affirmation, for instance, an affirmation is I create abundance every day. That's a good statement to the universe. But I like to turn it into a command, like abundance now. And that does two things. First of all, it makes me realize that this moment is the moment that I can create abundance, not something later. And second of all, it also helps me remember that when you command abundance now, you already have abundance, and I can remember what to look for in my life and acknowledge gratefully the things that I do have already. So those are two of the very first big changes that I made in terms of coming to a sense of abundance and success, is dropping the word need and creating a command for abundance. And then the third thing is taking abundant action. We sit and we dream idly. I'd like this, I'd like that to happen. We spend time in our minds forever, but we have to take the action. And our abundant action creates abundant success. So we work hard at the things that we do. And when we're talking about intuition and mediumship, sometimes when you're first starting out, and I started doing readings very early in my life. I was 14 when I bought my first tarot deck. And I was giving readings very early on in my life, and professionally also, even in college, I was giving them for money, but that's what you need to do to tell the universe, I do this, and I do it for money, and I do it abundantly. I do it frequently. And sometimes you don't have a bunch of clients to do it for, so you do it frequently in terms of practicing. You get your friends to practice on, you get your family to practice on, and you go out and do fairs and other things where you can do whole bunches of clients in a day. And that's one of the ways that I started. So, yes.
Good.
Action. Abundant action.
I'm still back in the I receive time. So I want to ask you a couple questions. I know that whenever I try to specifically retrain my thinking, habit pulls me back. And I find I don't even realize I'm saying the word need unless someone is calling me on it. How did you instill this new way of thinking inside of yourself?
It takes a ton of abundant action. It takes a ton of repetition.
Okay.
To every time, yes, if you're used to saying the word need, you're going to say it 50 times in a day. But if you catch yourself 3 times today and 5 times tomorrow, then you'll catch yourself 10 times the next day. Okay. It's literally building a new pattern. Okay. And that's also in how to build this new pattern is in my book, Power Words, where you, whenever you realize you said a word that you didn't want to use, you change it, even if you realize it an hour later. And then that distance between when you say a negative word and when you change it actually grows shorter and shorter and shorter. And so, but it does take days and days and days and days. We don't build a new pattern when we've had a pattern for years and decades. It may not take years and decades to change it to a new one, but it does take a lot of commitment and a lot of action and repetition of that action.
Yes. So, yeah, I hear you completely on action. I'm thinking too how when you start to be a lot more conscious of yourself, what you're saying, what you're doing, the action you're taking. For me, I experience that. I notice when other people then are starting to do the things that I'm cutting out. So I'll say, oh, a friend of mine is saying she needs this, she needs that. I will hear her, even if I'm not hearing myself yet.
That's right. But that's a memory peg, because when you hear them, it reminds you that you don't want to do that. And so you catch yourself more promptly the next time. And it's also good to then we share that with our new understanding with our friends. We don't push it down their throats, but we do share it.
So tell me more about the action aspect of it, how you taking all of this action, putting it into practice. Because I think it's an area where people think, okay, I've got to change my thinking and I've got to change my action. What do I do first? How do they work together? How do I know what actions to take in my life? I hear this all the time. How do you explain that? How do you know in your life what actions to take next?
Well, first of all, you have to take the actions that honor you. If you take dishonoring actions, then you're really sabotaging. You're shooting yourself in the foot. You're sabotaging all of the abundance that you're seeking to create. Because when you do something that doesn't honor you, you're telling the universe, this is the action I want to take. I want to take action that makes me feel belittled, or that makes me feel bored even, or that makes me feel dismissed. Right. You don't want everything that we do is a statement of saying that's what we want to the universe. Right. So we have to first determine what honors us. And if you're looking for any kind of career, you have to think of what little step you're going to take in that action that you can do today. There are people that have 5-year lists of what they want to be, 3-year list, 1-year list. I want to be a great writer in 5 years, or 3 years, or even 1 year. I want to be a great writer. Yeah. But ask them if they write every day. They don't. Right?
Sharon, you're reading my mind. That was exactly the example I was about to give. I want to be a writer. Are you writing?
Yes.
Right. Exactly. You are a writer right now. Step into the abundance of being a writer right now. What are you waiting for? Is that
right? That's another thing I bring up in my book. It's if you want to have abundance and success in your life, make your life a verb. In other words, don't say I'm a writer. Yes. Say I write.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
A painter. Say I paint. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I'm a reader. I read people. And so you turn whatever the thing is you want to be into a verb. Yeah. And then you take that action in even if it's a small way, every single day, every single day, every single day. Right. So, and then that creates the momentum of abundant action, creating an abundant success. So
that's brilliant. I love it. I'm thinking of all kinds of verbs for myself right now. Everybody watching, write down a list of what you are in verb form right now. Go on, take an action. So this is a great point for people to take something they're learning and do it and immediately move it into this kind of action-based relationship with the universe.
Right.
Okay, so Sharon, I have a couple questions for you about your life and how you have reached this point of being a teacher, a writer, how you have these insights, how you trusted yourself along the way. So many people watching right now want to move into mind, body, spirit fields, and they have a lot of objections inside themselves, or they're in a profession or career that's not mind, body, spirit related, but they want to apply the principles into their career. So I guess my first question for you that way, when you acknowledged that you were going to become a medium and intuitive, that you were going to read cards, that you were going to eventually write books and become world famous, you didn't know that in the beginning. What was inside you? What were your doubts? How did you make that choice?
Well, actually, it's kind of funny that you use the word doubts, because that actually was the turning point in my mediumship career. You know, I wanted to write very early on. I wrote as a kid. I wrote stories as a kid. I have, you know, spiral notebooks of just the things that I wrote as a kid. Silly stuff that we'd think now, but still. And so even when I was in college, I would write for newspapers and magazines and try to get them in magazines. So I was always writing. But when it came time to move from tarot reading and mediumship, my mediumship started very early on in my tarot reading, because Spirit kind of grabbed my body and told me they were here, luckily. And then I knew somebody was giving me all the information, which I think most psychic stuff is actually mediumistic, even if the psychic doesn't know that Spirit's talking to them. But the thing that changed my career in terms of the vitality and power of my mediumship, and therefore the success of my mediumship, because yes, I do readings all over the world, and I'm very fortunate in that way, was when I moved from caring whether or not I was right or wrong, caring about what people were thinking about me while I was giving readings, to a total state of trust and fearlessness. Fearlessness is a big word in success. Fearlessness, you have to hold fearlessness in your heart in terms of putting yourself out on the limb, putting yourself out in the community. You have to be fearless, and you have to not care what people think about you. And I don't mean to say that in a very blasé, egotistical way. I mean, you really, when you care what if someone is thinking, oh, are they going to think I'm wrong? Are they going to think I'm right? You're going to hold back, at least in the experience of intuition and mediumship, you're going to hold back and measure everything you say. And when you're an intuitive, you have to be exclusively in the right brain. The right brain is where we image. And we have to put that imagination to work. That's where Spirit talks to us through. They don't talk to us through the left parietal lobe, where we do math and balance our checkbook. So we have to be, and it's the left brain. The left brain is a natural home of the ego. The left brain analyzes and measures. So does the ego measure. The ego measures, am I doing this well enough? Is this wrong? What should happen? You know, every measurement possible comes through the ego in the left brain. And you can't be in both sides at the same time. So just by noting that you're qualifying and quantifying what you're saying and measuring whether or not it's good or bad or right or important, you're not in your right brain. So that fearlessness and that trust and that ability, that forcing myself to stay in my right brain, no matter if I sounded like I was being foolish, I didn't care about what I looked like, because I wanted to stay in the moment. And that fearlessness is where an intuitive and a medium and a psychic needs to go in order to get absolutely every measure, and I mean every moment, of their psychic experience.
Everything you're saying, I also feel applies to just about anything else. Anytime you're pursuing, I call it pursuing your genius, you're putting yourself out on the line. And you have to trust it. You know, my jewelry is the most beautiful jewelry. People will find it and buy it. Or I'm the best realtor you're ever going to run into. Choose me. Do it.
And for writers too.
Yes.
You have to fearless to send your work to a publisher. You have to be fearless to send it to a magazine or even to an email, just a website. You have to be fearless in order to do that.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you don't have any qualifications of, I mean, you don't, like for writers or jewelry makers or whatever, you just put something out there and you don't care about you don't have any standards about it.
No.
Everybody needs to have certain standards in their work. And in terms of intuition and mediumship, I learned mine from Charles Thomas Casey, which is Edgar Casey's grandson. And all the information had to do was be verifiable, loving, and give hopeful and helpful alternatives. If you can meet those measures of information, then you're meeting the standards of a good medium. And if you connect with spirit and bring insight through and about the spirit world. So I always sought a sense of perfection without ever needing to be perfect. You know, I always sought a sense of the highest experience that I could have in my experience of mediumship, in my experience of spirit when I'm doing mediumship. And if I could feel spirit and have the highest experience of that feeling, then I knew my clients and indeed the audiences, because I do a lot of public work. I do a lot of mediumship in front of audiences. Yeah. I knew they could feel it too. The same with words. If I sought the highest experience of the words that I use, then I knew that it was going to make an impact on other people.
Because words are a language of communication. They're an energy. So when you're speaking them, you're creating them, in essence. And that's why you've moved into this realm now with words.
Right. It's so important, the words that we use. As a matter of fact, that fearlessness energy, everybody out there, no matter what your career is or what endeavor you want, take a moment every day to bring the word fearless or fearlessness into your heart and really hold it inside your body. And you'll start to feel more fearless. You really will start to have an enormous amount of courage.
So Sharon, what words have you used in relation to money and wealth and income? What of the power words, or what have you experimented with and discovered works well for you as you've built your life and career? Because, you know, part of this series is you should feel comfortable earning what you're worth and asking the universe to respond to what you're worth via income or abundance or however you want. So what have you done with it personally? How do you relate?
Well, one of the first words that I use every day is abundant action. You know, I want to take a step forward on whatever project that lies before me today. And even if that's a mundane project, I like to take abundant action in it. So that's one of my favorite phrases. And again, abundance now. That's the command that I feel. I hold that. That's another thing that you have to realize with words. They're not just something to say, they're something to feel. So one of the things that I do with the words that I'm using as power words is to take the word or the phrase or the command inside me and really take a deep breath and close my eyes and feel myself with that energy. It makes an entire difference about how you feel about everything in your life and specifically the words you use. Now, some of the other things that I like is immeasurable joy or abundant time, unlimited love. I like to put things that have no boundaries, descriptions that have no boundaries to the things that I want to experience and do experience in my life, and unlimited power and immeasurable joy, that type of thing. I like to use those types of words. And then there's some foreign words that I totally love. One is a Gaelic, Celtic actually, from the Isle of Man, and it's Len Palchis, and it's full abundance. So it really makes your abundance really a sense of present and fullness. But my favorite foreign word in terms of abundance is the French succès-fou, which is spelled S-U-C-C-E-S, and then a new word, F-O-U, succès-fou, and it means wild, crazy, mad, extraordinary financial abundance and success. And I love it. I love it. I love it. It's succès-fou. It's crazy, mad, crazy money. And
that's like taking 5 of our words and putting it into one. Leave it to the French to come up with that, of course. They do wild, crazy, everything in one word. Oh, Sharon, it's been so good. I know that you have your book, of course, that's out right now, Power Words, and everybody watching, if this is thrilling you, go look it up right now. Go find it on the internet and buy it. Find it on Amazon or your bookstore or whatever. But I also want to mention your website, right, which you should be seeing on the screen, which is SharonKlingler.com. And you have something for people if they come visit you. What is it?
Yes, well, it's one of the things that it's in my book about creating a success in your life is to be flexible and realize that there are alternate realities. You know, it's actually in quantum physics, it's called adjacent possibilities. One of the things that we do when we are searching for success in our lives is we create an agenda and we create a plan, and this plan is measured and drawn out, and we see the steps in it, which is all well. Planning and creating an approach to our success is a good thing to do. But sometimes we get locked in on it has to happen this way. Okay, my next success has to be this book, or my next success has to be speaking in this location, or doing this thing, or doing that thing. And when we get focused so narrowly on our agenda, we don't have any openness to see new opportunities that come. So one of the steps that's very important is to every day take a moment to just close your eyes and take a peek at any adjacent possibilities. So I have a CD and a downloadable meditation called Winds of Possibility. And this is based on this quantum physics theory to take a look at your path, and then take a look at another path that's right next to it, and then take another look at a different path. And it allows you to kind of stretch your horizon into something broader than you thought it was. And it gives you much more flexibility to stay open to a new opportunity that you might not think is an opportunity, or might think it might even be a distraction, but it's a new opportunity nonetheless. So it's Winds of Possibility. It's a full meditation, guided imagery, and I invite you all to go to the link, and it's free. So go get your Winds of Possibility and see all the possibilities that are allowed to you.
For opening all kinds of crazy, wild sushi, boucher, whatever in your life.
Sushi fu.
Sushi fu. I want to do that. And so that's right. So that's on the link. And thank you, Sharon. I really appreciate you taking the time out to talk with all of us and kind of share a little about your own life and your path and making decisions to get there and what particularly is working for you right now.
Well, thank you so much, Summer. It's been a delight, and thank you for having me on, and good luck and benefit to you and all of your watchers and everybody who's watching.
Thanks, Sharon.
Thank you. God bless you, dear.
Bye.